Tastes great. But I wonder how it's made.
Yeah, good question.
Yeah. Oh, hello there. I'm Jake.
And I'm Miss.
And today you're watching a rather sophisticated Board Down Under Pledge or Pass. Today we're looking at Distilled, a 1 to 5 player mid-weight competitive Euro game.
So in Distilled, you'll take on the role of a distiller. You'll hire staff, purchase equipment, and craft alcoholic spirits based on the ingredients you have available. Each distiller is going to have their own set of goals they're trying to achieve, as well as a set of communal goals that are first in best dressed for the group.
Fantastic. Let's have a look how it plays. Alright, let's have a look at the components and how Distilled actually plays. Everything I'm about to show you is currently on Tabletopia. You can try before you buy for free, and I highly recommend doing so. When we get into the game, we have a distiller that you're going to choose. Every single distiller has a unique ability found at the bottom of their card. On the back of their card, there's some lore about that distiller. There's the region that they come from, their starting resources, and their signature recipe and signature ingredient. You've then got your dashboard. Your dashboard has a number of different things that we're going to talk through as we get to the market phase. There's also the washback, which we'll talk about when we get to the distill phase. There's the rewards that you get for selling. We'll talk about that, funnily enough, in the sell phase. And the aged spirits area, which we'll talk about in the aging phase. Over here, we've got our signature ingredients. So this gets unlocked at some point in the game and you might be able to make your signature, which is powerful and will offer you a lot of points. Here is the recipe track. These top two, moonshine and vodka, are available to everyone from the start, and the rest of them you'll have to buy the recipes during the market phase to be able to distill these spirits. At the start of the game, you're going to get dealt 3 different distillery goals. You're going to pick 2 of those goals, and then you're going to throw the other one out. The 2 goals that you choose from, these are going to very much drive the decisions that you make in the game, as you're obviously aiming to get the victory points for achieving those goals. We also have at the start of the game 5 different communal goals that get dealt out. And again, these are going to drive decisions that players make, as it's first in best dressed in terms of who gets the victory points for achieving these particular goals. The game itself is played out over 7 rounds, and here we've got the actual victory point track. Now, those 7 rounds are split into 4 phases thereabouts. There's the market phase, the distilling phase, selling phase, and the aging phase. So let's go through those quickly. The market phase. The first thing that we can buy in the market phase is our recipes. So let's say we wanted to unlock a bronze recipe. We would grab a bronze cube, we would bring it down here, and we would drop it on one of these 2 bronze recipes. So let's say we wanted to unlock Katshaka. I chose a really bad one because I don't know how to pronounce it. I should have just gone with soju. Should have just gone with soju, Jake. Let's unlock soju. Alright, so we've unlocked some soju. That's in our market phase. We've paid out 2 coins for this and they go away. Boom. That's one thing that you can do in your market phase. Second thing that you can do in the market phase is actually go to the market, and here is the market. Now let's go through each one of these. Let's start by talking about the basic market and the premium ingredients. So the basic market is made up of cards that are duplicates, and each one of these represents some sort of basic ingredient that you need in order to go through the distilling process. So there is yeast, there is water, and then there are the 3 types of sugars that you're going to need: grain-based sugar, plant-based sugar, and fruit-based sugar. There are also clay barrels and wood barrels for doing the aging process, which we'll talk about later. From the basic market, you're able to purchase 2 items per market phase. Now, some of these items cost nothing to get, so you're able to get those for free, which is why you're limited to only 2 items in the basic one. The premium ingredients are a similar set, but each premium ingredient offers you a reward for selling your spirit at the end, as well as spirit points, but they all cost money to actually get from the premium ingredient row. Once you purchase one of these ingredients, it's going to go down here into your pantry where your ingredients go. And this is what's going to make up your ingredients. So let's say that we've bought these things. Now, actually, I think we might need another extra one here. So this is our set of ingredients that we've got. Now, the other rows that we have available to us in the market, we've got the premium item row. These are bottles and barrels. We need barrels to be able to contain our spirits when we distill them, and then we need bottles to be able to sell them. Each barrel and bottle provides some sort of unique bonus or, monetary value, spirit point values, which are the victory points. They're going to provide those. So depending on the container that you barrel it up in, and depending on the container that you sell it off on, is going to change the amount of points that you get for selling that particular spirit. Finally, the last row that we have is the distillery upgrades row. Now, each distillery upgrade has a unique ability. It obviously costs money. Some will grant you victory points at the end of the game. Each time you buy a distillery upgrade, you're going to pop it down into your upgrade slots in your dashboard. You are capped out at 3, so choose wisely. If you want to replace one, you can do so, but you don't get any money for the one that you're replacing. And that's the market phase. Now let's talk about the distilling phase. So during the distilling phase, you're going to choose a recipe that you want from here, and you're going to look at the ingredients that it requires. Every single recipe requires some sort of container to barrel it up in, and requires some set of sugars. So we can see here we've unlocked soju. Soju requires at least 2 grain sugars, as well as a metal barrel. And that's as opposed to a wooden barrel or plant sugars or fruit-based sugars. So if we were aiming to make soju, we have 2 grains that we need. We've got yeast and we've got water. Now, yeast and water are not listed here, but every single alcohol that you create, or every single spirit that you create, requires yeast and water. If we look at our washback, these are the pivotal things that we need to fill up in order to be able to distill anything. So our sugars go into the middle of our washback, here and here. Our grains, because they're yellow, go into the top of our washback, and our water goes into the bottom. Here, because we've filled out each of these slots, we have the ingredients required to distill alcohol. So we're going to try and distill some soju now. To do this, for every single sugar that we have in our washback, we get to obtain an alcohol card. So we've got 2 grain sugars, we obtain 2 alcohol cards and add it to our mix. We then grab the entire washback stack, add it to a single pile, we flip it over and we give it a shuffle. Now that we've shuffled our cards, we're going to skim off the top of our alcohol, we're going to skim off the bottom of our alcohol, and we're going to look at what's left. So this is what we've got left in our alcohol. These 2 that we skimmed off get returned to our pantry. Now, looking at what soju requires 2 grains. That's all soju requires to be distilled. Looking at what we have left in our stack is 2 grain sugars. So we have just successfully distilled soju. This needs to be barreled up into a metal barrel, as we can see here. So we grab our metal barrel and we add it to the stack. Now we have soju. We're going to come up to here. We're going to grab a soju token and we're going to say we've made soju. Over here, looking at the recipes, there are 2 different types of time tokens. There's no time and there is time. This is actually aging. So for whiskey and down, we have to age these in some form of barrel. For gin and up, we need to sell these immediately. So the turn that we distill them, we're going to sell them. So that means we need to add this distilled spirit into a container that we can sell. We're going to use our glass bottle. The metal barrel and the glass bottle are your starting items here. You can buy premium ones up here to get more points, but you will always have these. Once you've used them, they go back into your storeroom. And this is our spirit. So we've now distilled, we've gone on to the selling phase. So we need to sell in our glass bottle. Once we've made up our stack, as we've just done, we determine how much we actually get for this. So we look at all the points That is 3 coins that we get for everything here. So we're going to grab 3 coins from the pool. We are also going to look at the bottom left because there are some cards, particularly if we bought them from the premium market. So for example, if one of these grains was some rice, we would actually gain some spirit points for this as well. We would gain 1 spirit point. And that is our soju. Now we've sold it. We go and grab our coins, we add up any spirit points that we've got, and we add them to the victory track. We also have this token. This token goes on the top of our dashboard on one of these options, and we get the reward available for that. So we can pick any one of these, we just pick it. You can only pick it once, that token's there for the rest of the game. And the next time you sell something, you get to pick one of the other tokens. And that's how that works. That's the core part of the game, really. You're going to buy a bunch of ingredients, you're going to distill them, you're going to hope that your distilling process works out well and that you're actually going to make the recipe you were aiming for, and then you're going to sell it off. If you are aging something, you would go through this exact same process. However, if it requires to be aged, you are going to, instead of using some sort of metal barrel, you're going to grab a wooden barrel from somewhere. You're going to create your actual your spirit just as you have done and have your wooden barrel. These would all be in a stack together and they would all be flipped over like sort of so. Your wooden barrel is going to sit on the top. When you go into the aging phase, which is after, I should move these, so this aging spirit sits in your warehouse, in your distillery. When you go into the aging phase, every aging phase round where you have not sold one of these, you get to grab a flavor card. This flavor card sits on the top like so. You replace your barrel over the top and your spirit has just aged and gained a little bit of flavor. That flavor is going to be a mystery until you actually go to sell it, which is quite intriguing. When you actually do go to sell it, let's say it's the next round, you do the exact same thing. You flip over all your cards and you work out what you've just made. So we've just made some nutty, let's say we were making whiskey. So we've made nutty whiskey in our wooden barrel and we're going to add up all the things that it gives us and away we go. We've got some coins for it being nutty, and that's it. Depending on how many of these are flavor cards, so basically how long we have aged this particular aged spirit for, we also get some bonus points here. So 1, we would get 1 bonus spirit point, 2, we get 3, etc. And that really is the game. Remember that you've got the personal goals that you're aiming for and you've got the communal goals that you're aiming for, and they're going to drive a lot of the decisions that you kind of make. The bottles that you buy as well, each bottle comes from, well, not each bottle, but most bottles come from a region. And based on whether or not you are bottling something up from like a spirit from the same region that it comes from, here's the Asia region. And so if we bottle it up in an Asian bottle and we sell that, we actually earn more points. We can see at the bottom here, if we haven't bottled up an Asian spirit in there, then it's going to give us less points. And also based on your bottle collection, so each time you sell something in a bottle, your bottle's going to stay alongside your board. Based on your bottle collection at the end, you may score more or less points. Alright, let's talk about our thoughts on the game. So let's start with the things that we really like. For me, above all else, is the theme of this game. The aesthetics here, the artwork on the card, really, really, really nice. And just on point theme-wise. This game is absolutely packed to the brim with theme. Everything you look at, everything you read in this game, it's jamming theme down your throat in such a delightful way. It really is, it really is lovely to kind of to use and play. Another thing that I really found that I enjoyed was the distillery upgrades that you can get. So each one of these feels quite powerful. You have a look through that, through that market row, and you want to buy every single one of them because they all seem cool, they all seem useful, which is a fantastic, sort of place to be in. Unfortunately, you can't get them all. You can only get 3. Tough luck. Outside of that, I think the game does have a little bit of randomness. So when you're creating a recipe, when you're distilling, there is a chance that your recipe is going to fail. You have to draw out 2 of those cards. If you draw out any of the critical ingredients for your recipe, then it fails. But the game does provide a way to sort of mitigate this in the fact that the recipe track actually has some cheaper options. There's bronze and silver fallbacks that you can unlock that'll more often than not allow you to fall back to something that's not as bad as the 2 default moonshine and vodka options. So I quite like that it offers that, that kind of way to protect yourself so that those frustrating moments aren't too frustrating. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, I'd agree with those things, and just to add on a couple other things that I enjoyed, the game length I thought was really suitable. The first couple of rounds you're spending that time just making the moonshine and the vodka so that you can earn more money, and then you've still got 5 more rounds to kind of spend that money and make some of the bigger recipes, which was a lot of fun. Similar to that, I also found that the downtime in the game, there wasn't too much of that. We were able to play our sort of hands simultaneously. Apart from the market where we were taking in turns, the rest of the time we were able to be doing things simultaneously, which just really helped speed through the game and not bog it down too much. It was also great that whenever it was my turn, I had enough money and resources to do something. Even when, I only had a couple of dollars, it didn't matter because the mechanics in there that allow you to grab a couple of cards from the basic area, and a lot of those cards are free. So there was always something I could do and a recipe that I'd be able to make. So there was never just times when I was sitting there bored and going, I've got nothing to do. So that made it, really enjoyable.
Yep, sure.
Unfortunately, though, there were a couple of downsides, nothing too major for me. I think the main things would just be that the distillery goals in the game really seemed like I needed to focus my whole game plan on being able to achieve those, and that limited other options. So just feeling like I didn't always have choices and wasn't able to do all the things I wanted to do because I was trying to achieve my goals is the main thing that I was doing. And also just working out the points and things on it. So there's quite a lot going on in the game, and especially towards the end of the game when you've got some aged spirits that you've made and you're trying to unpack how many points do you get for those and how much money do you get for those. And it just took up a lot of space when we were doing that, and also quite a bit of time to get through it.
Yeah, so as Miss says, I kind of agree there. We've got a couple of points that, not really let the game down, but aren't, positive points, I would argue. So the first one is that when you're cleaning up the sort of board, there is a lot going on. So there's 2 sort of times where I found this to be a bit of a problem. One, whenever you sell a spirit stack, that spirit stack has, 10 or so cards in there. Each of those cards sort of comes from a different stack. There's the flavors, there's the alcohol, there's, each of the different basic spirit sort of stacks. There's the actual premium ingredients. I said basic spirits, I meant basic ingredients there. But, these cards all have to go back into their sort of individual area, and it's just fiddly, it's not difficult, but it's just fiddly. And it's the same with scoring at the end of the game. Potentially when you come into that last round, you've got 2 aged spirits that are sitting there that you need to go through. There's 10 cards in each one. You're working out the points that you get from them. You're working out the coins that you get from them. Any other, tidbits here and there. You've also got the spirit that you created that round. So there's just lots going on in terms of scoring. There's like 7 or 8 different areas that you score from. So again, that last scoring round, there's it's just fiddly. So that's one part. And the other part was, just around this game being kind of on rails, I guess. You could say that it just guides you down a path, but between those, 3 goals that you get to pick 2 of from the start, and then the 5 communal goals that are kind of there to shoot for, they really drive you in terms of what your game plan is kind of going to be. On top of that, you've got most of the time, I would argue, the first couple of rounds, you're going to look to buy some distillery upgrades, which are fun, but it's going to be kind of common each round, because the longer you have those with you for, longer of the game, you're going to benefit from them more. So it makes more sense to purchase those in the early round. And then finally, you've got your actual character that you're playing, and your character has, comes from a region, has a signature that comes from that region, and it makes a lot of sense if you're trying to get that signature that you have a fallback recipe within that region. So the game kind of guides you towards, if you're playing a character from a region, you probably are going to make some of the spirits from that region as well, because it's just a good, it's a good option, unless you've got goals that specifically tell you not to sort of do that. So yeah, those are kind of the bits that I don't necessarily agree with too much. But I do think this game is great, and I think there's going to be lots of people out there that do enjoy this game. For me, I think that some of those people are going to be anyone that's interested in distilling. Like if you're a hobbyist, if it's your occupation, if you're the sort of guy that just likes to go to a bar or, anything like that and drink some whiskey or gin, I think you're going to really, really enjoy this. I think that the theme here is so good that you're just going to pull it out and enjoy it every sort of time, is my opinion there. I also think if you're just anyone that wants to have some, a social evening, some friends round, drink a couple of drinks and pull this out for a light-hearted kind of casual game, it is a midweight Euro, and it really doesn't I'm not sure if I'd quite call it a welcoming game, but it's not that far off it. There's not too much, once you know the rules and can explain it to someone and do the setup and that sort of stuff, it's really not too tricky for them to be able to pick this game up and roll with it. So I think there's a lot of people out there that this game is going to be fantastic for. If you're one of them, definitely check it out. Miss, how about our Pledge or Pass score?
Yep, so I did really like the game. I enjoyed the couple of times we played it. However, unfortunately, to get it in Australia, it's going to cost you $75 for the basic game and then another $25 shipping on top of that. So with the price point being $100, I don't think that really makes it a worthwhile buy. And so unfortunately, just going to have to pass on this one.
Yeah, look, I'm in the same boat there. With the shipping on top of this, for us, $100 for this sort of style of game. It's essentially a card game. I do really enjoy it, but I think it's just above that level that, I'm sort of looking to spend for a game like this. Yeah. But it is a fantastic game. If you've got the money or, you're more interested in the theme than potentially I am, then by all means, give this a check out. It's a fantastic looking game, and I think you'll have lots of fun with it. Thank you very much. You've been watching Board Down Under. I'm Jake.
And I'm Miss.
And we hope to see you again. Please hit the like and subscribe button if you've enjoyed this.